Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Spellbinders with another one of their beautiful stitching dies. So if you like to stitch, whether that's cross stitch, needlepoint, these are perfect for you. So this collection that they've recently released is called Merry Stitchmas. So there's a lot of items within this collection, and I'm going to focus in on the tree, obviously, and the snowflake. And then I'm going to do something just a little bit different because we're going to turn these into ornaments, and I'm just going to make sure that they're on the front so that it can also be not only a card but a gift for your recipient. As always, I'm going to take care of all of my die cutting before we get started. So, the magic of video, here we go. Okay, so these are the images that we have die cut. Very easy, one pass. I do use a Spellbinders Platinum machine. And I'm going to use the Altenew metallic threads. So this is very thin. So I'm going to show you two things that I did. So again, as I was doing this, I learned. So, but I wanted to show you both. So you can see for this one, and we're going to call this a snowflake. All right. I am adding a piece of tape to the back to hold that down. I don't like to put any knots in my threads. And when I did one of these before, I did use more threads. I actually used DMC 6-strand floss, and I used a lot of the flosses, but that kind of stretched out the holes, so I learned that as well. And for this one, I only have that tape in the back. So it works. I'm able to continue to thread this, but this thread is extremely thin. And because I had a knot, you know, I'm trying to work that through. But it is very simple to do these. There are embossed lines to show you which way you want to go, but you do have the ability and the luxury of creating what your own piece would look like. So you could do your stitches very different. Instead of going into each of the centers, you could just go round to the outside and then bring a few into the center if you wanted to. Again, possibilities are endless to what you would want to create. You don't have to follow what I'm doing. I did choose for each of my pieces to go from the outside to the inside. So have those spokes coming from the outer rim into that center circle. So the Altenew pack of threads come with an antique gold, a silver, and I believe a champagne color. And I'm using two shades when it comes to the snowflake. I'm going to use the silver and the antique gold. The tree, I'm actually going to use a DMC white floss, and for the base, I'm going to use the champagne. But you can see this is very simple, and you just, you know, go up and down, and that's what you're doing. This is not... I cross stitch as well, so sometimes I'll, you know, go down, and then before I pull my needle through, I'll still come up on the other side. You can't do that with paper. It may tear. I do like to use a thicker cardstock when it comes to doing this type of work on it, because, I mean, you're really manhandling that piece of paper. So you don't want something that's too flimsy. You also want to make sure when you're using thin thread such as this, you need to make sure that it's taut. Sometimes with thinner papers, you're going to bend the paper up, so it's not going to be able to lay flat. So you would need a strong adhesive to do that, and by doing that, you could rip the paper. So I do suggest at least an 80-pound or higher when you're doing these stitches. Now again, as you're doing all of these stitches, I mean, you're adding bulk to the back, so that's something to think about as well, and I'll show you how I actually handled that when it comes to that. And that's what our piece looks like, and I'm just going to continue to go around. Now that one section I do need to pull out, because of that knot, it was actually untwining itself. Okay, so I'm keeping this section in real time, and here is what I learned from the first section that you just watched. I grabbed small pieces of tape, I cut them, and I put them behind each of the sections that I was going to, and you can see it on the green one a lot better on that screen. By doing that, the thread had something to grab onto. It wasn't, it's because they're nice size punctures into the paper, which is great, which is what you want. But because I had that tape there, I wasn't losing my needle. My thread wasn't falling off. It gave me just a little bit more control. And yeah, I'm all about control. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta control it. I gotta have some level of control. So that tape really did it. And it worked really well for me. I still make sure that I have my finger back there. But because of that, it also helped to keep those thread tight or close along the paper. So here I'm using the DMC 6 floss, and I'm using 2 strands from that floss. You can do that. It comes 6-stranded, like I said, so you can make it 3-stranded, 2-strand. You can even use 1 strand. I liked the look of the 2-strand. You could still see the cardstock coming through. And it helped it to make dainty. Now down onto the base of the tree, as I said, I did use the champagne, and I went across once, and then I came across and did it again. So it's actually doubled. So there's, in a way, I used 2 strands for that, but I just did it one way and then came back over that as well to add to the texture of it. So again, I'm not showing you all of the sewing that I did or the stitching that I did. By all means, I know Jennifer McGuire does a lot of stitching, so please make sure you look, do a search on her channel for stitching. She does some beautiful work. And then I did do one video prior to this as well. So again, you can just search stitching and it should come up. So after this row, then we're going to start putting our cards together. Now, I did also pull in my Glimmer hot foil machine. I'm loving this machine. And I used one of the previous month's Glimmer kits with the sentiments. And I've already glimmered and foiled those 2 sentiments onto black cardstock. So you're probably sitting there going, okay, Des, you're making these and you're putting these together. How are we going to put them in cards? Funny you should ask. I came up with a way without using a magnet. So when I put these together, I am going to put glue where the stitches are. This will help hold the stitches in place. And plus, that's the first piece that's going to touch instead of trying to flatten this down. Now, for each of the pieces, I cut a different colored cardstock. So the black, I cut a silver piece of cardstock. I'm using the silver mirrored. For the tree, I cut a piece of red cardstock. And I believe this is Pomegranate by Spellbinders. And I forget what this green is called. So the cardstocks that I'm using are by Spellbinders. They're essentials. And I am loving this cardstock. It is a wonderful weight. The colors are perfect. Meaning, I mean, you get these different values and all the colors are there. If you're looking for a dark purple, it's there. If you're looking for a light purple, it's there. Sometimes with cardstock through companies, if you don't have every single one, you're not going to be able to get that. So it's kind of different, but I really do like them. I'm using some fun foam to prop up because they're scraps. And I dug into my stash to use some dies. I tore some paper to create these frames. You can see here I've got this piece of vellum. I've got the tree sitting in there. I'm going to place this down and I'm going to cut along that edge. So what I also did, you're going to see 2 panels. So I have a piece of fun foam and I have the piece of cardstock that are cut or torn. Yes, I literally tore fun foam. It was fun to set these up because I did need them propped up just a little bit. I'm going to trim anything that's hanging over because I can never get things straight. But that will fix itself. So now I'm going to place my next one. This is just the standard circle die that I used from my stash. And then doing the same thing. So now I've got that thin strip because I forgot to put that across. We real quick peel up. Thank goodness I used my glue in adhering. Usually I use my double-sided film tape, which is not forgiving at all. So I was able to pull that back up. So I have that thin strip that's just going across there. And then I have like the panel that's coming down there. So now I'm going to set these onto my standard A2 size card front. So that means it's cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. These pieces that I'm placing on them, the panels, they are cut to 4 to 5 1/4. So I'm going to set each of these down onto the base. So for this one, I'm using a piece of the gold foil, mirror cardstock. And now I'm going to add hangers. So I put that backing piece to it. And now that that's all, and it's great that I used the red, or you can see why I used the red. That red's just going to come through with the garland coming around the tree. I mean, you can stitch those, but I wanted to leave those opened. And then for the ornament, since I used that silver, that's coming through, I'll be backing that with a black, and I'll be backing the tree with the green. Now, know that the tree is not symmetrical. So you want to make sure you check that when you put your backing piece up on there. So all the good sides, you know, good side goes to the wrong side, good side goes to the wrong side. So make sure that you know that. I almost made the mistake of flipping it thinking it was symmetrical. This image here is symmetrical. So it doesn't matter how you put that on, you will be fine. Now you can see I used both the gold and the silver thread for the black one. So why do I have these strips there? They're making a pocket. I'm going to put my panels down onto my standard A2 size card base. Now, when I use the Spellbinders mirror cardstock, I love it because it's two-sided. But when you use liquid adhesive, it takes a little bit longer to dry and it's very slick. So by putting that double-sided tape there, it kind of sucks it right into place. Sucks it. It's a technical term that I just came out with. Wow, so sorry about that. So now we have a little pocket. So whoever gets this card will be able to lift out the ornament and put that onto their tray. Now, for the black one, we can hide that line by putting our sentiment straight across that. No one will ever know that there's a line there. They're going to think that, okay, the pocket was created by the sentiment. Now, I put that blank piece of paper in there to make sure that I hit the vellum and didn't hit the back, because that would have been funny. This one here is just a decoration. So we can have that torn edge just above the sentiment that says Merry Christmas. But yet we have the pocket that perfectly fits our ornaments. I am now shaking this so that you can show that they don't fall out. Because I didn't know if they were going to. It would have been awesome if it did, but I would have figured something out. So you could see I added some gems to them as well in the center of all of that wonderful stitching we did. So I hope you enjoyed these. I hope you had a good time. This is a new recent collection that Spellbinders has released, so I'll make sure that it's linked down below so that you can see the entire collection, and I will link to the products that I was using specifically. If you have any questions, please make sure you leave those down below, and I will make sure I get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't yet, I'd love for you to subscribe, be part of my gang here. I think we have a good time. Hopefully, at least I think. Make sure you ring the bell because YouTube may let you know when the next video is up. Remember, we are in the middle of a fun Spellbinders week where I get to show you everything Spellbinders and what we can create with it. If you don't know, I do have a Patreon account if you wanted to check that out. Over there are longer tutorials, more detailed tutorials, and certain items and certain treats that you get over there as well. So if you want to check that out, that link is down below as well. Guys, have a great day. Keep smiling. Keep laughing. But always remember what's most important to me. And again, guys, we do it every day. We just don't know it. Always be creative. Until next time, take care.